Okay, form, sense, a particular low melody. That had some stuff, didn't it? That had some stuff. Modal interchange. Cool. Good. Yeah, it's a new Friday with a new set of music released. What exciting things do we have? Well, let's just look at the old album of the year site, right? That's where we find it out. Oh yeah, a new De La Soul album. Unexpected, but looks like it may well be quite poignant. We're not looking at that today. What else is high here? Well, I mean, I've never heard of The Help with a double L, but that seems to be getting some good user scores. People don't seem to have really logged in today on here. There's a Tate McRae Deluxe. There's a new Beatles anthology. I haven't heard enough Beatles. That's what I say every year. I say I wish the Beatles would release another album. Just make it up. Come on. Oh man, sad to see Manny has just died from the Stone Roses. That's really sad. I was only listening to an interview with him recently. That's a real shame. Okay, yeah, seems like only sad news on albumoftheyear.org, so we don't look there. What we look at is the top album, the one that we actually really are interested in. We only listen to one album a week, and it's the one that we do on stream. And it's this one. Here we are. Oneohtrix Point Never. Hey! Here's a name. Daniel Lopatin. Who can tell? But this is the person behind Oneohtrix Point Never. Very interesting, groundbreaking dance, EDM, vaporwave to some degree. Project, really interesting music. Oh, I do not like looking at that album cover. This one in particular. I only listened to this album once. I was not particularly fussed about it, but I think there are definitely some people who rave about it. I don't think I even noticed again. I think I just totally missed that one somehow. That's a shame. Uncut Gems, of course. I mean, the soundtrack is not the most interesting thing about that film, but it's pretty decent. What I'm more interested in was Age of, which I thought was interesting. Had some interesting textures, definitely. Had an actual bit of singing on it, which was unexpected. Garden of Delete, very exciting project. I think it was the first one I listened to, and it was very important for me. I didn't listen to it in 2015. But in about 2016 or 2017, I was finally coming back to modern music, contemporary music, and this was one of the albums that made me convinced that it was worth sticking around for. This, and let's say Benji by Sunkill Moon, and To Be Kind by Swans, as well as a few recent ones, around that time, like Psychobab's first album, and Welcome Strangers by Modern Studies. These are on different levels of appreciation in the general community, but I think that they're all fantastic. They all convinced me that this is what I want to spend a large amount of time looking at each year. But before Garden of Delete, there was R+7, which I still haven't listened to, but I hear is very good. And before that, there was Replica, which is a really interesting piece of work. Lots of found sounds in this one. It's still recognizably sort of dance music in its flavour, but it's got a lot of that old, hauntological, taking things from the past and making them seem strange and out of time now. And that's basically hauntology, right? I don't know. Please write me a long comment about hauntology. But today we're on Tranquilizer. Oh, gee, what's wrong with my speech these days? I used to have this beautiful, illustrious voice, luscious, loquacious, spacious, and now it's just going downhill. Can't bloody say nothing without it making no sense. Anyway, Tranquilizer. This is what we're looking at today. Let's see how it starts and maybe how it continues for Residue. There we go. Okay. Oh, being used by another application. That's fun. Here we go. Okay. A little bit of noise. But a kind of soft noise. It's not got a lot of low frequency. It's not got a lot of super high frequency. Although, as I turned it off there, it sounded like there was a really, really, really high pitch. Something much higher than a guitar. Which was just grating. Just a slight, like, sandpapery feeling in the ears. Lovely. Yeah, there it starts. Oh, it's not fun. It's really, really high. Really irregular frequency. So it's not just keeping this one high thing going. It's like it's intermittent and fluttery, as well as this low noise. And that's the quality of noise, is that it's indeterminable. It's not just one specific sound. It's lots of irregular, almost randomly created sound. There is no random. Spread the word. And that's what we've got at the moment. Quite a small noise band width, I think, and it's very, very soft. Sounds more like a pink noise than a brown noise, for instance, if you know the difference. It's basically the difference between like a and a right, basically. So we got the softer side of that, and then with this extra thing coming in here, it feels therefore quite lo-fi. I mean, we haven't got any music yet, but just having this noise here makes it feel more old-fashioned in its musical style, I suppose. Okay. Okay. So that really high frequency sort of comes down into our audible our perceivable pitch range, keeps falling, sounds like kind of two pitches, and then we've got that warped voice as well. Actually feels like it's a different pitch. It doesn't really feel like that top one is coming down. What it feels like is that there's another one that emerges from the texture. For residue. Yeah, definitely. Oh, what a nice beginning chord. I think that's what we're talking about. E flat minor or E flat minor 7. Yeah, it's can't hear all the notes of that in there, but there's definitely an E flat and a ha and a ha. So we're definitely getting those. I can't hear the third really. Let's try again. And we've definitely got the 7th. But yeah, I can't hear the 3rd. So we've got this kind of weird open sounding chord. It's got this beautiful clattery beginning, which sounds like a harpsichord or some really, really bright string instrument. Could be a guitar, of course, but yeah. Could be there. But I don't think it is. Oh, but there, as that first one fades, and this slightly different sounding synth, slightly more warm sounding synth comes in, we get that minor chord. So we get a initial tension, bow, and then that resolves itself in the next part. We still actually have that super high frequency scratching on. Most of the noise seems to have disappeared. Super high frequency is still there, slightly in the left speaker. Okay, so really it's mainly that pad at the bottom, maybe a couple of pads, and then this higher, I don't want to call it a lead really, some slightly more melodic thing came in towards the top. Wah! With this, yeah, very very changeable filter on it. Wah! Almost like a wah sound. Let's hear it again. And a wah 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 wah. It's got this kind of echo to it too. Yeah, very high. Up there, like 3 octaves higher than this. This is just a warm chord, quite low. Whereas that is very, very bright, very distinguishable textures. And then we get another statement of that. Da-dum! A little bit out of time with each other, which is fun. So we kind of, that kind of thing. Da-dum! Da-dum! A few bird sounds. A few recorded vocals on like a mobile phone or something. Very very small bandwidth there as well. Yeah, that actually feels like something like that. Cool chord, but what I was gonna say is that it sounds like "Welcome to the Machine" by Pink Floyd, don't you think? If this was going, if that was doing something like that, and then we get, welcome my friend, welcome to the machine. Yeah, that's what I'm getting from it anyway. Weird breath taken in over here as well. Loads of different sounds then that we're pulling on all over here. Okay, much more leady, bright, grainy, mosquito-y, not really grainy, sorry, but very, very grindy in your ears kind of sound. This mosquito-y sound. Can't make that nearly as bright as I want to do nowadays. Yeah. And it's coming in and out and in and out. A lot of pulsing and morphing from second to second here. Not much sort of rhythm outside of these individual pulses, which are seemingly different for each instrument. I think we've got some sort of choral pad there as well. This weird vowel sound. Anyone can do this. You just make weird sounds into a microphone and then put a bandwidth on it. Right? That's all that's going on. Maybe a weird reverb too. Birds again. Breaths again. Okay, maybe we're getting a sense of rhythm here now. Maybe. So again, some more high-pitched synths coming in there, which makes sense because there's not a lot going on in that range at the moment. Almost like birds in a way, much less like birds than the sounds on Utopia by Bjork, for instance. But yeah, very in that kind of range, maybe a little lower than a bird would be. Yeah, like a whistle. Yeah, but it's clearly a synth, not a whistle, right? Okay, and it's slowing down as this larger thing is coming out of the middle with this very bright, very bright feeling to it. It's just so all-encompassing, taking up so much of the space. So much hiss to it. Yeah, so we're more in a kind of B flat minor now rather than the E flat we were at. So we have had a slight change of harmony, but still very close. There's so many notes in that chord as well. Like, yeah, all those kind of things. Those, probably those. Yeah. As well. Yeah, so at least 5 of a 7 note scale there. Nothing that feels particularly discordant. They're all just part of the scale sitting with each other. Okay, there's a bit of rhythm. Do 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 do. A little bit of a swung rhythm, which is not maybe what we might expect. Okay, and slight shift of pitch, and then again another chord which is sort of in a similar space but not quite the same. This E flat world that we were in, which works with all of those. The F minor is slightly brighter. It has, what does it have that's different? Still has an A flat, but it doesn't have a G flat. But we're not there. It's not in this chord. It doesn't have a D flat. No, sorry, does it? Maybe it does. Ah, dang. What's the difference? Right. It's yes, it doesn't have that C flat that chord was using. It's got C natural instead, so it feels brighter in a slightly more on space rather than a kind of off space, if you like. And we're bringing back those fizzy sounds, zizzing around, with a little bit of clattery, very also bright percussion, which doesn't sound so computerized. Yeah, some maybe chimes, really tiny chimes or something like that, super high. Just clattering around in that high range. Yeah, this again is very ambiguous chord. It kind of sounds like an F minor, but then we've got this 11th in here and the 7th in. So yeah, maybe more of a B flat chord, but yeah, hard to say. I think the bass is definitely F. So overall, we've not had much specific structure here. We've had sort of merging from one thing to another without a deliberate scheme, seemingly. There's been no repetition of any of these elements so far. We're 1 minute 20 in, so there could be repetition. But what I'm expecting now from this is that we're just going to morph into different places as we continue. Shall we see? Okay, another really bright sound. Sounds like a slightly warped choral synth. We've got that kind of sound to it, but it's got this kind of sort of morphing on it to make it slightly less of a clear vocal noise, I think. It might not be, it might just be a really sort of bright airy synth sound, but either way. Okay, and that's fading. Now bring us a slightly lower bass note. Back to the E flat bass note, but we seem to be in a slightly more happy world here. It feels more like E flat major as opposed to E flat minor that we had before. So that's interesting. Yeah, and again we've got these chords are just pluripotent with notes. Do I mean pluripotent? Let's just check that. Stem cells, pluripotency, biological compounds capable of giving rise to several different cell types. Sure, why not? That works. Yeah, these chords are pluripotent because they give rise to lots of different chord centers, different notes that are in the chords. It's really nice. They could take us in loads of different directions as well. So they're pluripotent. Yeah, really, really dominated by that breathy high stuff now. The low doesn't feel nearly as consequential. And again, it's fading, going somewhere else. Yeah. Yeah, we're really getting that. Yeah, not quite. Yeah, this kind of, or something like that. So very, very docile chord, like a 6/9 chord, E flat 6/9, very soft sounding, no hard dissonances there. It's nice that it has this sort of shift. It's going from this kind of, yeah, higher. I don't know what, can't really make a good voicing of it on the guitar. But then it's going, just shifting down for a brief moment before going back up. So it's a little glitchy, little unsettled. Ah, did you hear that in the back there? Let's hear it again. Almost sounds like a baby or something like that, but it's almost clouded out again by this bright, high, airy area that is really dominant again. Yeah, it almost takes on a melodic quality, which is fun, but that's the closest we've had to melody really in this track. Most of this has been textural exploration, just things building to some area and then fading and letting another thing through. And we have a sudden change in this last bit. So we've gone from this super bright, and then those things just cut. One thing cuts just before the others, but I can't be bothered to go back and work out exactly what's going on there. But then we cut to a very different harmonic area and a very different textural space. We've lost all that brightness, so now we're just in a little watery kind of cave, I suppose, with yeah, what, more of an E flat minor, no, sorry, E minor kind of feeling. So we were in this E flat major, really bright kind of area, yeah, and then kind of there. Oh no, more like there. So actually from this E flat, sort of drifting a little lower, getting a little more secure, slightly less flamboyant chord maybe. Still got lots and lots of notes to it. It's got this, yeah, classic, I don't know what it is actually, but you do hear it in quite a lot of settings, like a C floor kind of vibe, with these clattery high frequencies doing this while the chord slowly changes a little, like in the waves kind of thing, and with a little bit of a darkness to it. There's that high frequency coming down again. As we fade, and as we fade, we again bring in that high frequency stuff. The breath. Okay. Well, very linear track, isn't it? We didn't have any repetition really there, apart from that we had a frequency coming down at the beginning and a frequency coming down at the end. What did we like about it? We liked the textural play. What have we got on this musical bingo? Soundscape. Oh, I think we could definitely have soundscape. Textural play, have we got anything like that? Slow build in texture, that's not quite the same thing. No, we haven't. So let's take away counterpoint and replace it with big textural shifts, something like that. Big, should have been smaller, I think. Text al shifts. Oh, what's wrong with that F? No idea. Big textural shifts. You know, I'm actually a sucker for a watery synth, so I'm gonna shove that in. Bye bye middle 8. Watery synths. And I don't know, I don't think we need to put too much on. Like, it is linear, and we don't have linear on here right now. Maybe let's just get rid of chromatic lines and we'll put linear in there. We could say we like the chromatic harmony, but to be honest, I'm not a massive fan of that kind of almost meaningless harmony where it's just a new sound world and then a new one, and the connection between them doesn't seem to mean much. It takes us on a journey. Yeah, doesn't do much for me, that kind of thing. So what were we going to write? We were going to write linear. Long may it continue being a useful category. Okay, well, we had soundscape, didn't we? We had a soundscape. Did we have a bridge? No, not really. Didn't really have any specific sections. Common motifs between sections? Well, no, I'm afraid not. No exact rhythm, no percussion really much at all. Modal interchange. It would be hard to argue that there was modal interchange. I guess we'll give it, because, you know, there were big changes. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit rich to call it modal interchange, but we'll have it. Heavy chromaticism. Well, yeah, okay. Let's stick with that instead. Why not? Heavy chromaticism is a little more true to what's going on there. Big textural shifts, sure were. Distorted bass, no. Barry sax, sadly not. Otherworld's chord change, no, we didn't have it. We didn't have it. It could have happened. It's the same. It's the kind of free-flowing harmony that could just have that happen, but it didn't. First beat percussion drop. No, I know what that means. That's definitely didn't happen. No riff. Slow build in texture. No, we had sudden changes in texture always. Big textural shifts. Yeah, is more appropriate. Multi-octave cohesion, certainly not. Watery synths, yes. Rhythmic displacement, we didn't really have much rhythm to speak of there. Improvised feel, not really. Binary structure, well, no. Linear structure. Big drop. We did have a big, well, it's not in the spirit of big drop, is it? But we did, I guess, have one. Fine, let's put it in. We're not going to get a high score for these guys anyway. Fast, tight echoes, I suppose so. Instrumental, certainly. Held dissonance, yeah, there weren't many strong dissonances, but there were a few. And linear, okay. Oh, we almost got that bottom. In fact, we did. We got that bottom line because there was no snare backbeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoa! A line! A line! A line! Incredible. I thought they weren't going to get as good a score, but that's an extra 5, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15. Considering there was a line, 15 is not amazing. But there we are. Got 15. Nice one. Okay, alright. Are we going to get a return to more traditional shapes with this next one? Okay. Some of the textures that we had in the previous one seem to be still here. Bum. We're back in E flat minor, interestingly. We've got this glitchy rhythm in the middle, on the middle synth. We've got a little bit of the high chimes, maybe. Let's hear it again. Yeah, one really high note. About there. Just coming in on this pinging. Sounds like it could be a harp. Yeah, really high, just ringing out note there with this chord in the middle. Yeah, probably again a minor 9 sort of area. Again, very, very large chords with lots of notes. Yeah, and we've got this da 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 da. It almost feels regular. Ooh. Yeah, giving us again the E flat at the bottom. We had a little bit of a shift there in the harmony. Loads of strange noises in the background, or well, actually kind of in the foreground, quite close in the ears. Just scratch, this kind of thing. They're not taking all the focus really, but they are there. I would say the chimes kind of sound is taking a lot of the focus. Yeah, and everything seems to be in a slightly different acoustic as well, which adds to the sort of, you know, it's I guess to some degree that is the vaporwave kind of thing. You've got loads of different sounds and they're just sitting together in this uncanny world. Okay, some more chimey things over here, maybe slightly different, maybe slightly lower, and they moved over to the left. Yeah, so it isn't quite an equal rhythm. Should we bother? I'm not going to bother calculating exactly what's going on there until we get some more. Yeah, so there's this moment of like a B flat minor before we go back. Dum, dum. Yeah, with that note it is, isn't it? Maybe like that. Let's hear it one more time. Yeah. Something like that. It's interesting, but these chords are so full of notes that it's not clear which ones hold much like important harmonic function. But I do like that we got that sort of descending line there. Sudden moment of break there, but then it's back in. Glitchy is I guess the name of the game, isn't it? We're having things happen and then suddenly be stopped and suddenly reintroduced in a very unpredictable way. Something like that being played on a, I would say probably a guitar, just faded in there for a moment before again being sort of cast aside. Okay, this feels like a more meaningful change to the texture. Sorry, I kicked the microphone. More meaningful change to the texture here. This is all quite soft, slightly high focused kind of sound. I do have a little bit of the bass in there. And then Yeah, there's this moment of pause before. There we go to. Yeah, the B flat minor kind of sound. So. And it sounds much more on, this texture, much more aggressive, in your face, brighter, but also grittier. Yeah, that kind of sing, 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 almost like two knives being grated together kind of thing. Going initially fast and then getting slower. So again, things going on their own rhythmic journey in this one. This is not how everything is going here. We've still got those chords going bop, 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 slightly different ones now, but they're still going in their own rhythm. Things are just emerging and dissipating in a very unpredictable manner. Okay. Onslaught in that high frequency area. It's not like super high, which is interesting. Maybe he's lost his hearing. Maybe I've lost my hearing over a certain amount of time. But yeah, it feels like around where you would get a sound. So like maybe that's from like 10k to 15k. Should we look it up? Why not? Why not? Let's be committed to good information. What part of the frequency spectrum is used when making a hiss sound? Is that gonna work? Well, it's not the electromagnetic wave phenomenon of a hiss, which, okay, alright, I mean, this AI overview says hiss is concentrated in the high frequency spectrum, typically starting around 2 to 5 kilohertz and continuing through to about 20 kilohertz, which would be all the high range. Okay, I'm going to go deeper. Thank you, Gear for Music. Audio frequency range explained. Hiss. Aha. A boost around 12 kilohertz can give a recording more hi-fi quality. However, boost carefully, as too much brilliance can accentuate hiss and potentially cause ear fatigue. Therefore, balance is key to achieving a rich, detailed sound without discomfort. So that would suggest, yeah, okay, so it says brilliance here is about 6 kilohertz to 20 kilohertz. So this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about, brilliance. A boost around 12 kilohertz, it says, is what you should aim for that kind of stuff. That's interesting. But it doesn't sound like it's going particularly high in that range. Okay. Yeah, okay, the 10 kilohertz range is particularly influential in affecting clarity, often referred to as the air band, as we move upwards from this point. Okay, so I'm thinking probably 10k and lower for this particular kind of area. It doesn't feel like it's going super high to me. Let's hear it again. Yeah, and it just boosts in that kind of area, maybe a little lower as well. It's not like that super high gritty sound that we got in the first one, which was, I would say, probably higher than 13 kilohertz, something like that. I used to be able to make a sound myself, which was all like bang on 12.5 kilohertz, just by going. So that's nowhere near that high note. Yeah, it's about that, isn't it? Okay, but I used to be able to get this really sighing quality, super high note out. I have a recording of it somewhere, but I can't do it at the moment, and it's a shame because I would like to show you, because it would be really demonstrative for what that frequency would be. I guess I could go on to Audacity and show you, but at the same time, this is much of a muchness. What are we talking about here? We're talking about the difference in two super high frequency things. And why are we doing it? I would say because what my point is here is it's not giving us like a full, wow, every single frequency is represented here kind of thing. It's a little chopped at the top, so we get this kind of forcing at the gate, wanting to get into this higher realm but not getting there, and then giving up and suddenly dissipating. Yeah, because we're back to more of our initial texture here. Interestingly, in this one we do feel a little more of that super high stuff, especially from that one particular pinging note, and maybe that's partly because the texture is thinner. There's not as much going on, so more of that high frequency stuff can come through. But yeah, so this boost, and then yeah, oh, that was definitely one of Björk's birds just smacked into a window there. Poor thing, poor thing. Okay, again, feels like a more substantial change in this kind of thing. Where are we harmonically? Not that it's very important. There it was again. Poor thing. Yeah, more of an A flat minor now. But yeah, it's got this lower set sound to it. Still with a lot of that breathy noise, but it feels lower again, doesn't it? It's not, it's right? Somewhere in the middle. Some laser gun sounds. Okay, we come back to E flat minor, but it doesn't feel like we fully left that behind. It was a more soft change there. Yeah. The chimes again ringing around. Rah, that's gonna. Ugh. It's not my favourite sound. There's that guitar-y sounding thing. Very, very plucky sound. So it could be a nylon guitar, or it could be something that I'm missing, some different instrument. But it's really, really bright in comparison to where it would normally be. Yeah, it feels like, has anyone seen The Artist? If you've seen The Artist film from 2011 or 2010, I can't remember. I think it's 2011. But he wakes up in the middle of the night, and The Artist is generally a silent film, but it has this one moment in where he wakes up and, oh sorry, he's actually in a dream. He thinks he wakes up, spoilers, and suddenly everything has sound to it. Everything is so loud that it's like an ASMR nightmare, which is basically what it is. And he is feeling things and hearing the of the rubbing. Yeah, powerful stuff. That's kind of a certain amount of what's going on here that has a little ASMR flavour to it. Those chimes. Nice! Sudden note smashing through there. Again, that breathiness. So we've had a few changes where we've gone from our standard, slightly dour, watery texture with the high frequencies in to more of this breathed out kind of feeling. We've had it about 3 times in this track, so we are getting a bit more structure in this one than in the previous one. Sounds like a real flute there. Might not be. There. Accompanied by a very, very chorusy sounding synth. Yeah, I don't know how to describe those kinds of sounds, but they're very video gamey. They're cool sound design that yeah is across the whole sound spectrum. Sound really high fidelity, which is lovely. Unlike some of these synths, which sound a little rustic, slightly homespun. that's nothing wrong with them. That just is the sound world that it is. But there's this contradiction between that and these super high fidelity noises that are coming through from time to time. Just very brief moments of them. Yeah, we had a bigger pause there than normal, followed by those harp notes. Those ones. So going all the way up to top E flat there. Not the highest note by far that we've had in this, but giving us more of that E flat dominance and actually feeding into a reliable sound world here. In fact, almost all the notes here are from E flat minor. I think we've maybe had a moment of suggestion of E flat Dorian there, but with that sharpened sixth that indicates Dorian as opposed to minor. Minor has a flatter sixth, so that's the Dorian sixth. That's the minor sixth, or the alien sixth. But yeah, we're in a much more cohesive and reliable sound world in this one. And again, there's that rhythm. Shimmy, shimmy, shimmy. Okay, again, a sudden change with one of those video game sounds. Ooh, back at A flat minor 7. Piano, that's a new one. Wow, it's just constantly back and forth, isn't it? I think we're in B flat minor now, sort of. Yeah, there's a bit of a fight between them actually. Yeah, it's kind of doing that. Yeah. Shifting back and forth, and this one actually has that note in. Something like that. Interesting. Yeah, all these sounds, I can't possibly go into everything that's going on here sound wise. It's the fun of it. It's the fun of it that there are so many different things, just one after the other. It's a journey. It really is like going through some unfamiliar jungle on a foreign planet. Okay, this feels like an actual B section. After our first section, which was mainly this, followed by a few bound, going to this breathy sound, and then coming back. This is our B section, which I think which is going between these this kind of thing. A little glitchy rhythm, but still substantially reliable. We're still doing the same kind of operations, building in different parts of the textural space. We haven't really had any big builds in the bass. It's really been mainly those high breathy sounds which have been coming through from time to time, just dominating. Okay, I am actually getting a really high frequency coming through again, maybe like 13k or something like that. It's gone. Slide there as we came back to E flat, and maybe this is our A section back again. It sounds like it. Yeah, just a ghostly banshee wailing there. Yeah, it really could be from a game, couldn't it, this? There's another of our sort of breathy sections, slightly more aggressive sound world. note builds and releases. Sudden releases, which is fun. There's actually like sounds like a proper bass there. Dum, dum, giving us an actual non-electric note, but maybe I'm wrong, but that's what it sounded like. Oh yeah. Doo, doo. Yeah, really nice low bass, very punchy sound. Okay, and some keys, or synth. But that sounds much more clattery, much more sort of glassy sounding, doesn't it? Nice. Okay, more of this velvety, yeah, fizzy and velvety sound. Unexpected note there, the D flat. We haven't had it as the bass note, but it's fun, I think anyway. It's not out of our key, so it's still within our sort of comfortable area. Again, not out of our key, but an unusual place to be. And there's our A flat again. Those scales that are happening in that particular synth sound with the echoes, and they're happening in either fourths or fifths kind of thing, but they're basically all pentatonics. What pentatonic scale is that then? Yeah, G flat major or E flat minor. E flat minor pentatonic is what's being used here, so okay, nothing out of the ordinary. Pentatonic has fewer notes than major or minor, so it feels even more stable. These are actually very similar, some of these sounds are very similar to Oxygène by Jean-Michel Jarre, actually. I wonder if there's a deliberate connection there. I wouldn't say that the compositions are similar, but some of the sounds that we're just using in here do sound like that. Yeah, again using pentatonics, just going up the scale and stopping with these big echoes. Breathy and out, and we're back to E flat minor, but it feels quite different now, doesn't it? This is a more covered sound, mostly we don't have that high frequency fidelity, and we have maybe piano chords going on. Yeah, it sounds like it's just piano doing those two notes, maybe with a top 1, 2. So giving us some really regular rhythm all of a sudden for the last minute of the song. Yeah, same thing on the piano, but it's down here. The chord is A flat, so that's giving us an interesting extension to the chord. Yeah, nothing is predictable here. Too high for me to whistle properly, but yeah, nice, a little of a Subnautica feeling to that particular sort of bright, sparkly synth at the top. Okay, really fast, several different arpeggios of this particular scale going at the same time, really high on the piano. And then yeah, bring this back. So we've in this third section, we've sort of introduced D flat major as one of our main chords, often with big extensions, again, using all the notes of the scale almost interchangeably, but with the bass note taking such dominance over how those notes are interpreted. You know, so like here's the same 4 notes up here. Here's it with an E flat bass. Here's it with a B flat bass. There's with a D bass. There's an A bass. What about G flat bass? Very different. What about a C flat bass? Okay, Very different. But none of those chromatics that I just played there, which would be really much more dissonant. All these notes, because they're in the same scale, they fit quite nicely together. It's understandable, it's not scary, but it's just a little, ooh, there's things over here that I can't quite put my finger on. And it's nice how they sort of go up clearly, and then the echoes get more warped and more warped as it carries on. I like that a lot. Okay, some quite high stuff there, and then fading. Yeah, hard to tell in the end whether it was harp. I think it was harp to begin with, then piano, and then synth to cap off, but I could be wrong. And we actually end in that D flat space, that new space for the end of the song. So this was a sort of A-B-A-C kind of structured thing. The B, if you've forgotten, was this kind of thing. A little uncertain of itself, but I think the last section there did a really good job of morphing from the A section into something new, which was something that the A section in itself didn't really have. It had these two polar opposites, one of this bright but very open space, and one of this slightly heavier but very, very airy space. Playing with a lot of unusual tools here. This is not like a lot of music that I have covered, I would say. So it's hard for me to exactly know how to approach it. Like, you know, I enjoy it, but it's also how is it different? How is it more worth? Is it even more worthwhile than music for a video game? Is it better than film music? Is it better than ambient? Does it actually qualify for all of these different categories in its own right? It's a difficult one. I do enjoy the textural differences. They're a bit of an onslaught from time to time when it's just one thing after another. Yeah, well, what I did like about it was that thing at the end that I've totally forgotten. Yeah, morphing echoes, isn't it? Where we start with one sound and then it becomes stranger in the echo. I think that's a really nice thing. So let's definitely get that in. It's not a common thing, which is a shame. I would like to see music get to the point where it was common, so that now I don't have to be as into it as I was. That sounds so messed up, but what I mean is it's nice to see the good things get adopted by the popular, I would say. Morphing echoes. Okay. Is there anything else we liked? Bright texture, I suppose. Let's get rid of percussion led outro. Bright texture is such a terrible thing. Like, why not let's just put airy texture. I think we'll leave it at that for this one, because a lot of the things that we liked about that were done in the previous one too. Okay, soundscapes. I think undeniably there's some soundscape stuff going on there. There weren't the oh, we really like high fidelity sound design, don't we? I guess that's what we should put instead of airy texture. High fidelity sound design. Bomb. Oh, and we're going to have to get rid of that. Okay. Okay. Hi. Fi. And what we're really talking about there is these sound effects. Why not, let's put hi-fi sound effects instead. Which are super super powerful, well produced, really clear and prominent, and go across the whole frequency spectrum in a very unified way. That's what we're talking about there. Okay, soundscape, yeah. Bridge, can't really say we had a bridge. Common motifs between sections is a really difficult one for this. I think let's give it that, because they all had some degree of like airiness being brought in as a motif. So I think we can say that. We still can't say exact rhythm, because rhythm really was not there very much. Hi-fi sound effects. Modal interchange, no, not really. A very, very, very tiny amount, if at all. Multi-octave cohesion, I would say absolutely not. Watery synths, sure, definitely some. Not linear this time. There was no snare backbeat. Held dissonances, you know, to some degree, but I think actually the dissonances in this aren't strong enough that we can put that. Instrumental. Fast, tight echoes. I guess they're not fast or tight, the echoes here, are they? And I shouldn't have given it for the previous one either. Morphing echoes, though, yes. So they would have actually missed out on 6 points for that previous one, but it's done now. We didn't get the other world chord change. We didn't get Barry sax. We did get really nice sounding bass, but it wasn't distorted, so we can't have it. Big textural shifts, yeah. Heavy chromaticism, no. Slow build in texture, not really, no. We had big sudden changes in texture. Rhythmic displacement, no. Improvised feel, no. Binary structure, well, it's ABAC, and you could see that as binary, because you could see it as AB being the first one and AC being the second one. Fine, we'll give it. Binary is such a pushover category. First beat percussion drop, no, there wasn't enough beats for that. And riff, no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Not terrible, not great, but 9. I think I'm going to leave it there today. I know this is relatively short, but I feel like we've at least gone into that in the detail enough to understand what's going on in the album as a whole. That said, I haven't listened to it, so I could be wrong, and if I am wrong, and if I think it's fantastic, I will find a way of covering that at another point. Yes, at the moment I'm just wondering what I do with my favourite albums from the year. Do I do separate streams for them? Do I do them next year to sort of try and perpetuate their legacy? I don't know. I think probably that's just going to fall on deaf ears. We will see. Or we might not see. Have a great day. See you soon. Yeah, enjoy as much of your life as you can. And I hope you enjoy music as much as I do. Thanks, bye.